Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. I'm really excited today because I have my amazing friend with me. She's one of those, I wouldn't like to say annoyingly smart, beautiful, kind, generous, but she is kind of one of those people. So you're absolutely going to love her. Everybody say hello to Sarah Boyd. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Lisa. You're very sweet. That just made me blush.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm really excited to have you here. I wanted you to come and talk because I love the project that you're working on at the moment, but also the story about kind of how you came to it. So first, before we tell everyone about the amazing book, and we can talk all about their children and resilience, I'd just love you to tell everyone a little bit about who you are and I guess how you came to creating a project like this.
Okay, awesome. So hi, I'm Sarah. I'm an Aussie, as you can probably tell from my accent, but my husband and I and my family, we're actually now living in California, which is a story in itself. But probably for the last decade, Colin and I, my husband, we've been running a business teaching positive psychology to entrepreneurs in the corporate market. And that was all going along well. My background's in psychology, so I was mostly teaching like resilience and emotional management. So we would go into a company, and if they were going through a change management process, we'd do some training with them. And we had quite a few experiences in that time where people would say, oh my goodness, this content really helped me so much. Like I wish I knew it when I was younger. Like I hate that I only know it now in my 50s or in my 30s or in my 40s. And then when I was in my late 20s, I had one of those life-altering experiences myself where I got diagnosed with cancer. And for 18 months, I was treated for an aggressive form of thyroid cancer, and it already was starting to spread into my lymph nodes. And so thankfully, the treatment and the doctors did an amazing job, and I'm all good now. But I think that experience, like I can imagine for many of you, if you've gone through anything life-altering, it really destabilized me and brought a huge clarity and focus to how I was living my life and what I was doing with my life. And just really brought up how important courage was, because for me at that point, even though we were doing lots of great stuff, I really wasn't being courageous in and of myself. Like on the outside, you would have looked at my life and thought, like, she's doing awesome and she's stepping out of her comfort zone. But internally, I knew that I wasn't. There were so many more projects and things that I wanted to do that I just never would allow myself to do. And then after I had cancer, I had my children. So I've got a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old little girl. And I think it was the combination of all of those events that just made me really realize what I wanted to pass on to my children in terms of what was the important skills that they needed growing up. And I think, it's really easy to look at like just social skills or academic skills or that sort of stuff. But I knew from my experience and having a whole heap of life, I like to call it, or challenge happen pretty early in my life, realize how important that was to teach them how to overcome that and how to have courage and how to bounce back from failure and how to go through a hard thing. And I think that's where the passion for this whole project was born.
I love that story, and I have so many questions for you about the topic of resilience, but I do just want to flag right now that the book is called The Boy Who Stood Up Tall, and at the moment you're wanting to get it. Look how beautiful that book is. OMG. And you're actually running a Kickstarter. So we're going to have all of the details of that, because people can get their hands on the book and support you guys in getting it to more people in the process. So all those details will be below. But the first question that I have for you, right, is resilience. I always sort of thought it was like school of hard knocks. You can't teach resilience. Resilience is something that it just kind of happens through life. But would you say now, because this book is directed at what age group?
So the book is written for about 4 to 8-year-olds.
4 to 8-year-olds.
A few years older than that would still be okay with the story.
So you're saying that it would be like resilience is something that you can teach?
Yeah, so basically what resilience actually is it's the ability to bounce back from something hard. So it's not, so think about it. I've got, I'm not going to draw it because it will be backwards. So basically everyone goes through a situation, and say our level of functioning is kind of here. We all go down and we experience anger and all the negative emotions and frustration and sadness and grief. And depending on how big the circumstance is depending on how big our feelings are or how long it goes on for. But resilience is someone's capacity to come back up to where they were before. And in fact, studies are going on to look at their ability to move forward and actually build a deeper level of purpose and meaning in their life because of the event that happened. And so while you can't advertently teach resilience, you can teach the mindset and the emotional strategies that it takes to get back up again. And so, like you said, many people have this misunderstanding. They think resilience, and particularly if you're in business or you're in leadership, it's almost like this kind of armor of like strength, like nothing affects me. I'm just strong. I can, bull at the gate, get through anything. And that's not actually what resilience is, because that's essentially a form of suppression and a form of pushing stuff away, because resilience is the capacity to wrestle with the negative event and cry and get angry and get frustrated and move through it, as opposed to just like push it out of the way. And so in that respect, like it's actually a positive thing that you feel sad when something sad happens and you get frustrated when something frustrating happens, because that means you're a human being as opposed to a sociopath.
Important distinction. Yes.
Really important, because I think in today's age, many of us have this negative association with negative emotions, and we want to push away pain. And we're wired like that neurologically. Like if we were to touch our hand on the stove and it's hot, we recoil, we move quickly away from pain. And so it's normal that we want to move away from it. But in it, there's actually messages and gifts and things that you may not anticipate if you don't actually go through the process.
Right. So interesting, because originally I was like, yes, give me a book that helps protect my children from their bad feelings. Like, great, they'll have resilience. It means that they'll kind of stay up. But what you're basically saying is, and what I now know is the reason I need the book, is it's almost like a roadmap for me as their mother to help them or to help understand what happens when you feel that stuff, and allowing to feel that stuff, which, I think it's so good too. I have my middle child, she was sort of quite stoic, and she'll kind of get a bit stiff upper lip, and I'm like, just cry, let it out, let it out. You're allowed to let out your feelings. But somewhere along the line, she was born like that. It's just the weirdest thing. But I do think that as modern parents, or parents bringing up kids in the modern age, there's this kind of like, we want our children to be happy, we bend over backwards, but there's going to be shit that happens in their life that we can't protect them from, or even that we're going to be a part of. We'll disappoint them. We'll make rules that make them feel frustrated or angry. So this book is really about trying to help them navigate what happens and then rise up through it again. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so the core message of this book, and our goal is to write multiple books on all different topics, but this one's really focused on courage. And so really about, there's a few lines in the book that says, like, even when your heart's racing and your hands are shaking, courage is standing up to the fears that you're facing. And so it's about demystifying it's about demystifying the idea that we're always happy and we always feel strong. And in the book we talk about courage. So courage is not the same as fearlessness. Yeah. Sorry, you're really good at I'm saying I wrote a book and I'm really bad at grammar.
Anyway, full stop, new sentence.
It's good. I promise I've been edited. I've prepared for a professional. What I was saying is that it's not about, I think our children need real life examples. And I don't know if you've had this being in business yourself and doing things that are out of the box, but I can't count the number of people that have kind of said to me at one time, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. I wish that I didn't feel scared either. Then I would do what you're doing. And it's kind of this perception that because I've taken some risks that I must not feel fear. And it almost makes me want to laugh, which I don't because they're genuinely saying it. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what people actually go through internally. And so because of that, and social media adds to this, you know, it's our highlight reel, it's what we show to the world. And so we just assume we've got that detachment from what someone else is experiencing. We assume they're not feeling the same way as me. And therefore we're not equipped to know what to do with all these feelings that we're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Feelings that we're feeling. I absolutely agree with you 100%. I have people saying to me all the time, I just wish I wasn't scared to just show up and do a video. And I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, it's scary. It's a scary thing to be putting yourself out there. It's just that I choose to step through that. And I want to know what's on the other side of that. I just love all this. I can't wait to get the book. I wanted to ask you though, like this day and age, like resilience and courage right now, do you like contextualize that for kids right now? What are they battling against? What are the new issues that maybe are arising for kids right now that they need this tool and we need a conversation with our kids for?
Like, I'm so glad you brought this up because I think this is the driving force of the whole project of what we're about, is because our children are growing up in a very different world than we grew up in. And I think every generation of parents wants to pour into their children what they learned and the lessons that help them go through to get success. But the thing is, the game has changed for our children, and with the introduction of media and social media and all these kinds of even more global issues going on, the whole atmosphere and environment has changed. So if we only pass on what we knew and what, you know, worked for us when we were kids, it isn't going to cut it. And so I actually believe more than ever these skills of resilience and courage and the ability to navigate your negative emotions and the ability to be kind to one another and find empathy is critical. Like, the World Health Organization predicts that in the next 10 years that depression is going to become the leading cause of disability worldwide. So more than heart disease, more than cancer, that someone is struggling so much with depression that they're struggling to maintain normal work and life. And so I think so much of this has to do with the pressure that's put on. First of all, I feel like children are expected to grow up way too quick. And I'm not for, you know, protecting them in a little bubble, but I think there's a pressure of younger is getting, you know, the milestones are happening. I think the introduction of social media is training our children to compare themselves and find their worth in someone's external opinion and approval of them. I think there's been a great awareness about bullying, but I think because of social media and because of everything else, bullying has increased. And on top of that, I think the world is just moving at a much faster pace that we're not naturally created to move at. And so if we're not good at having boundaries ourselves, as disconnecting from the media and, you know, all that kind of stuff, if we don't get given those skills to do that ourselves, then we're not going to cope with basically how the world's operating now. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
No, I'm just like, it's just so scary. I feel like this book is like a tool kit that every family needs to have. Like, because I can see it. There needs to be a language around this stuff for kids because they are having to deal with things like way before we ever had to. Like, I was really young for a really long time, I think. Whereas, yeah, I can just see it changing. My son, we don't have any Xboxes or PlayStations or anything like that. And basically he just feels so sad. Like, he just gets so forlorn when he comes home from friends' houses and there's none of that stuff here. And I'm like, I don't know how to describe to him just that, you know, he's 7 and it's so much more fun to go outside and do things, but for him it's not. But I don't actually know how to help him in that situation because he's just going to feel sad. But yeah, it is just kind of a crazy world. because I don't know, I'm parenting issues that I never had. So there's no kind of roadmap here for anyone.
But I think it's great what you do because you still hold your ground on that, you know, even if other people are doing something different. And I think this way needs, like, mums especially, you just need to trust your intuition on what's right for your children at what age, even if everybody else around you is doing something different, because you know your children, and you know, even though you might, you know, some of the tools that we're talking about, with the book, we've actually set up like an online training library with like really short videos that comes with the book on like courage and resilience and negative emotions to help equip parents. And at the same time, you know, I've gone through so many times where it's same type of situation. Like we have very strict rules on how much TV they can watch. And I don't let him watch lots of shows that are considered age appropriate for my children because I watch the effect that it has on them and I don't like it. And so, you know, whatever that is, you start to double guess yourself because other people are doing it too. But I think really important to trust yourself in that situation.
And also trust that it will change. Like I can definitely see he's about to turn 8. He's a different boy than he was. I can talk to him in different ways. He understands time in a different way. So yeah, it's just constantly changing. But I would love to finish off with you just giving us maybe one tip for if our child is experiencing something and we feel a little bit you know, unprepared, or we don't quite know how to help them navigate feelings. What's one thing that you would do in that situation?
So when they're feeling negative emotions, is that what you mean?
Yeah, maybe when they're feeling negative emotions. Because that's what I'm understanding is that the resilience comes off the back of being able to pull themselves. So it's the negative emotions that kind of, that's where we come in.
Yes. So I just think that probably the best thing you can do to help your child with negative emotions is bring language to them. So if your child has like if you think about this term is coined emotional intelligence, right? So it's this idea that you can learn and understand how your emotions work. And so from a very early age, you can start naming emotions with your child. So you're feeling sad, or tell mommy how you're feeling. And even as they get older, what are you feeling right now? And what happened to make you feel it? So I feel frustrated because you're making me do the dishes, or I feel sad because I got left out of the party invitations, or whatever. That actual language, it activates a part in the brain that decreases the stress response. So the emotionality that you feel, as soon as you can bring language to it, it calms you down. And then it gives you an awareness of what you're actually feeling, why you're feeling it, and it allows you to kind of work through it. So there's some simple things you can do. There's an awesome book series by Trace Moroney called When I'm Feeling. It's like a little bunny rabbit, and it names 8 different emotions that you can start with really little children. And then as your children get older, just like asking them, like, what are you feeling and like what's happening? The fact that they're talking to you is really important. As your children get maybe into their teens, that maybe if they don't want to talk to you, encouraging journaling with them so that they do it themselves. I am feeling this because this happened today, can be really beneficial.
That's so interesting. I find that absolutely fascinating. And also really, especially for my son, my girls would be much more willing to tell me how they're feeling and put words to it, whereas I can tell, just needs some extra help with finding those words sometimes. Like it'll all just come out explosively because maybe he hasn't had the words to start the conversation. So that's just like blown my mind. That's basically changed my family's life. So thank you for that. So tell everyone how we can go. We're going to put links, but tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter. They don't have much longer. When does it close? And how can we help you get this book out into the world and into our homes?
Thank you. So our Kickstarter closes on Friday, the 20th of July. That's actually US, so it might be Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an all or nothing Kickstarter campaign, which means that we need to hit our big goal. So we would love your support with it. Pledge share it on social media or share it with a friend. Like, we just want to get the word out as many people. It's a different style of book. There's not many children's books out there that are teaching meaningful messages like this, but I've seen the power of it even in my own children's life. As my son often struggles with moments of anxiety and fear, and I've noticed him choose to do something different and choose to be brave, and he's been repeating lines of the book to himself. So it's been really cool to see that. But yes, we would just love all of the support, all of the love. And if you just click on the link below in the show notes or wherever, I'm not sure, it'll take you to the campaign.
I'll be putting it everywhere. Everyone will know. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you for just giving us these little nuggets of gold, because, it is a different world that we're trying to navigate, and there isn't that much, it's hard. I think you've actually cracked a bit of a niche here, because I don't know anyone talking about courage and resilience for children in particular, and actionable ways that we can help them, and just like the most beautiful way to just read a book, and you've done all the hard work for us. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time today, and thank you for writing this book. It's like a gift to the world. I actually feel like this is the one thing where you would buy a few copies, because it's also a stunning book. Like, it would look lovely on, bookshelves and tops of wardrobes for kids and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely going on the Christmas present list.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
So if anyone I know is thinking about it, just pledge, because I've bought you the book already.
You're all getting the book for Christmas.
Yeah. I know. I wish I was Oprah. Everybody watching, you're getting the book.
Oprah.
Yeah. That's me in my Oprah moment. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having me.